Hi folks, this is all the fruit. I'm on Tenerife in the Canary Islands, and this huge plant here is Opuntia tomentosa or Opuntia tomentosa, depending on how you prefer to pronounce it. It's one of the three main invasive Opuntia and cactus species in the Canary Islands. There are lots of papers about other invasive species, most of them are Opuntia. A lot of other invasive cactus species on the Canary Islands, but let me tell you something. In such a climate, when you drop some cactus pads somewhere, the chance that they're gonna get established is pretty high. I can see some Cylindropuntia at several places established on that slope. I guess it was dropped from some garden, but I don't think that it spreads further by birds, by seeds on a large scale. I think that all those feral populations of the other Opuntia species can all be associated with either relics of cultivation or somebody dropping his trash somewhere in a valley. So the three main invasive Opuntia species on the Canary Islands are Opuntia ficus indica, which we can see here, Opuntia delaney, which is quite rare on the northern coast. The only place where I've seen it to be really invasive on a large scale was Punta de Hidalgo. It's more typical for the southern coast. I thought first that this could be due to it being less frost hardy when I saw it in the Mediterranean, only in hot places. But here on the Canary Islands there is no frost in the coastal areas, so I guess that it just likes it drier and sunnier. Well, yeah. And then there is Opuntia tomentosa. How can you recognize Opuntia tomentosa? Well, the other two species, Ficus indica and delaney, they are shrubs. Or in such rocky places they can even be hanging shrubs, like this one over there. But they are usually low. Opuntia delaney is a very spiny plant with pair of fig-shaped fruit which have very few areoles with glochids on them. Opuntia ficus indica is also a shrub, and the fruit, they are not so pair of fig-shaped, they are more like plum-shaped, and they have a lot of areoles. But both are small shrubs. They basically almost never grow to such dimensions. Well, for Opuntia tomentosa, those dimensions are quite typical. It grows usually to like 2 to 4 meters, sometimes even taller. I think the tallest ones I've seen might have been over 5 meters. Also, Opuntia tomentosa has basically no spines and very few glochids. And the name says it, the surface is tomentose, the surface of the cactus pads as well as of the fruit. The fruit have a lot of glochids. They look basically like a tiny Opuntia ficus indica fruit, but they have a color which is more often associated with Opuntia delaney fruit. I don't know why Opuntia tomentosa has been introduced. I mean, the fruit are a little bit small. Yeah, the taste is different from other cacti, but was this enough reason to introduce it as a fruit tree? The cochineal lice are living on this specimen here. Look at that. So this color here, oh, well, let's put it here. This color here is from cochineal lice. Well, this color here, a lot lighter, is from the seeds. It's from the fruit. So don't confuse both colors. The cochineal lice was used for this red color and was actually the main commercial crop of the Canary Islands in the 19th century. Well, I don't know if they were introduced because they don't have a lot of spines and a lot of glochids, if they were introduced as a fruit tree or maybe as an ornamental, but they did escape. They are considerably more rare than the two other main species. You can find them mostly on the northern coast. However, I've also seen them on exposed cliffs on the desert island of Fuerteventura, so I guess It's not that they cannot stand the sun, the heat, or the drought. Okay, now let's try and get a couple fruit. One. I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna get a lot of glockets into my fingers, but whatever. Two. Oh, look at that. Those 3 aerials basically lost pretty much all of their glockets to my finger. And here I have a lot more little glockets. Okay, still, let's get the 3rd fruit. And then let's call it quits. Okay, 3 fruit. Let's get rid of, well, again, 3 glockets in my, 3 aerials losing all their glockets in my finger. This time I also have a lot of them in my thumb. Okay, they seem to be quite short and thin, so still I feel no pain. So the simplest way to get rid of cactus glockets is to roll them around on the ground. And if you have grass on the ground, the better. Glockets will get caught up in the grass. After you removed most of the glockets, you can take it with your fingers and rub the rest of the glockets off. You will end up with a lot of glockets. Glockets are the little spines. You will end up with some glockets in your fingers, but not as many as if you just go for the fruit. Okay. Well. Okay, well, I wanted to peel it like I do with the much bigger Opuntia ficus indica fruit. Didn't work, so I'm gonna squeeze it out. A nice dark raspberry color. Yep. Tastes a lot like Opuntia ficus indica, but with an additional flavor, yeah. Also some raspberry flavor, but not so much like real raspberries, more like artificial raspberry and violet flavor, you know, like those candy which are flavored like violet flowers. The flavor is quite weak, so it's not very prominent, but it's there. Well, what shall I say? The fruit are not really bad. They are nothing special. Taste-wise, they are different from the other cactus fruit. So, if you like cactus fruit, there is no reason not to try them. Just maybe put them all in a sieve or in a bag and wash them to remove the glockets. I did not manage to remove most of them. I must have dozens in my fingers, but I still don't feel anything. Maybe they are so small they cannot properly penetrate my skin or something. Well, anyway, yeah, the fruit are okay. If you have the proper techniques to harvest them, I would suggest like harvesting them with some tongs and a knife. You must harvest a lot of them because they are considerably smaller than Opuntia ficus indica fruit. But yeah, right now I don't see a single fruit on Opuntia ficus indica around here. There are hundreds of specimens here on the cliff, not a single fruit, so I guess this is a good replacement when Opuntia ficus indica is not in season. This plant here is a little bit too tall even for me, but from the smaller ones you can easily harvest hundreds of fruit. And yeah, no reason not to eat them. I haven't eaten them a lot because they are smaller than the other cactus fruit around here and more work. But yeah, if there is nothing else around like here, I would totally do it. So folks, this was Opuntia tomentosa, the rarest of the really well-established invasive Opuntia species on the island of Tenerife and in the Canary Islands in general. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the islands of Tenerife. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.